Welcome back, everybody. So let us talk a little bit now about the Gauteng province has a new look that it's going to be talking to land invasions. And this is a brand new strategy that has been brought about. The government has promised to deal with people who occupy land illegally. However, those accused have repeatedly expressed their frustration over the housing backlog, alleged fraud in the allocation of houses, and desperation for shelter. We were hoping to talk to the MEC here in the province to try and understand what is going on. Themba Chauke, he said that they're going to bring about 1,500 community patrollers that will be deployed to various areas throughout Gauteng to discourage this land invasion. Unfortunately, we can't get hold of him. But who we do have on the line is Themba Chauke, who is the Secretariat of the Landless Peoples Movement. Themba, thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers.
We were hoping, as I mentioned earlier, to speak to Themba Chauke, who, of course, is the MEC of Human Settlements and Urban Planning here in Gauteng. Can't get hold of him, but obviously you're fully aware about the anti-land occupation program that was launched in Gauteng on Monday. What are your views on this?
No, this is just a spike in the face of the people during the pandemic coronavirus. Remember, Gauteng is the only province that intending to dig 1 million graves for people that are going to die with corona. And when they continue to evict people from the land, it is indication that they really want these people to die. If they don't have a shelter to hide, they tell us to stay at home. So where are those people to stay? And another thing, by putting lots of that is intimidation. You know, it is not allowed to intimidate the occupant. So that's why we see it's very unacceptable.
Okay, so you feel that this move is unacceptable. I know that we have seen throughout this time, as you mentioned, during the coronavirus pandemic, there have been a lot of evictions and shack demolitions, shocking visuals in fact coming through of people having everything destroyed in front of their own eyes, especially since this lockdown began. As much as these are considered illegal, how have these families been coping in terms of actually finding alternative accommodation?
You know, we talk about human rights here. And according to the law, when we have to pick someone, we have to take into consideration the issue of women, elderly, and children. So if you can look at that thing, it is not being taken into consideration. And did they really exhaust all the platforms in order to deal with this issue? Or they're just taking it maybe because if you can take a look, if you can investigate, you might find out this is another form of corruption, wasted expenditure. You see, so because there must be some legal ways to follow these issues, but there seems to be no legal thing that is being followed. You know, and remember that the minister of Costa, Dr. Zuma, released a statement for level 2 that no one is allowed now to evict anyone. So the intimidation that we're seeing by the government is very, 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 very unfair at this time.
I mean, there was even the visuals that we're seeing now was from one of the evictions that took place earlier this month, and there was even talk of one of the people actually being killed by the Red Ants and whoever else, the police that were involved in trying to get rid of these individuals in these illegal settlements, as they are called. But you know, when we talk about the amount of people that don't have accommodation in South Africa, and during particularly this pandemic and this crisis, how have they been handling? Where have they been going? I mean, is there any assistance whatsoever coming from government?
Let me tell you, when the president announced the lockdown, it was abrupt. It was an immediate, like people were very scared. Like, remember, I started from school, from the students in universities. Everyone was struggling. I mean, because they have to come home And some people have to protect their jobs. They can't come home. And as you can see, some were renting. And the landlords want their money. So they have to find an alternative to stay. And the government is just evicting them, and they don't give an alternative. Many people have given up in the waiting list of the houses in government, especially in Gauteng. There is a very huge backlog, and many people have given up. That's why they resort into finding an alternative land in order to put their heads.
Yeah. You've also questioned the individuals that actually do get the housing, and you say that there's a lot of illegal activity that takes place with regard to the awarding of these houses and that housing backlog in the country. Would you like to elaborate a bit on that for us?
Now, I remember I can tell you an example of this case that I remember. I remember the one in Bramfisherville. It was the new township that was established around Soweto and in Tsakani, Extension 19. I remember it was around 2013 or 2011. There have been those many cases, and I personally attended these cases, whereby ward councillors, corrupt officials, were selling those houses. Remember, government houses, especially RDPs, are not intended to be sold. They were selling these houses, and people were marching against it. I know other people who were waiting to have houses in Bramfishville, as you know, the township that side in Soweto. Even up to date, they didn't get even a house. So you can see that this is a systematic approach by the current government, especially the officials on the ground, and there's nothing that they go on with impunity. There's nothing that is being done in this regard to address this issue. Many people, if they can come forward, and elaborate on what. And another example I can tell you is, remember in eThekwini now, many people have been evicted, many families have been evicted with no mercy. So it's happening everywhere in South Africa.
When we look at the amount of homeless people, the last figures that I'm looking at are in terms of in the Gauteng province alone, the numbers given by government were between, the areas of Johannesburg and Pretoria, obviously consisting of the Gauteng province. They say that it's around about 1.2 million people are waiting for adequate housing or don't have adequate housing. Are those numbers representative? Do you think that that's a good estimate of how many people are waiting for homes?
The number is much more than that. Gauteng is the only province in South Africa where all people from 8 provinces migrate to go there, including other people from foreign countries and our neighboring countries. So the number is more than that. So it's not the representative of that number. The number is much higher.
The other side of the story, however, is the illegal occupation of land and the land invasion, where we've obviously heard a lot of the government, particularly now. We heard just a few weeks ago the Minister of Human Settlements, Lindiwe Sisulu, talking out very, very much so about this and saying that the government will not tolerate these illegal land invasions and coming in and just taking over, because it is not allowed in the law. I mean, you've got to understand that, surely, in terms of the legal land invasions.
Now, the government must address the issue of the houses first. Yeah, we understand that, yes. But what is government doing to address the issue of backlogs of the houses? Where should people go? Because people are not just going to people's houses, they're just going to an unoccupied land and occupy it. That the land that is staying not unused for a long time. Okay, the people don't just go to land that is being. People assess and say that this land has been staying here for a long time and there's nothing that is being done here, and we don't have a place to sleep. We don't have a place to stay. So they just go there and use the land. I mean, government must legalize those land and legitimize the people that are staying there. Mm-hmm. Like what has happened, I've seen what happened in Brakpan, somewhere in Brakpan. Yeah. People went there and occupied the land, and government legitimized it. And now they're in the process of building the houses for those people. So the same process must happen everywhere where people occupy the land.
the reality, however, and we'll talk to the Vleurhof incident that did happen, where there was illegal occupation of these flats, and this is lawlessness. This is against the law, and it cannot be held. And I mean, I know that they have spoken to the backlog, and they're saying that they are trying as hard as they can to get to the bottom of it, but these units are not meant to be taken over like that, and there are people that are waiting for them. Breaking the law under this circumstance, what do you tell people around you? Do you encourage them to do this, or do you actually say don't break the law and let's rather stick to the law and wait?
No, the government must come to the people. Transparency is what is needed. We need transparency. If there's no transparency, then people don't know what because the people must be told that this is the waiting list. These are the people that are in the waiting list, and this should be the people that are not by the communities. Communities are staying in one place. They know each other. Then if you find that they say that this is a place that was intended to be built for you, then you find that no, you don't know even anyone that is going to occupy that place. Then what people are going to do? There is a need for the transparency from the government. Yes, we appreciate the government efforts to build the houses because as I indicated earlier, that in the case of Brakpan, they have not yet built the houses, and we are putting close eye. We know the community that are staying there, so we're also going to make sure that those communities that are staying there are going to be the beneficiaries. That's what we want to see.
Yeah. We're unfortunately losing your connection here. Just one final clarification from you. Would you encourage people, even though the land is not, it is privately owned land, would you encourage people to just go in and take over? Would that be something you encourage until government comes up with a plan?
And Leanne, there's we just have a problem that we don't know which land belongs to the government, which land is privately owned. Most of the land is not even written. Yeah, you can see maybe around in Limpopo, which is written private. But when you come to Gauteng, most of the land is not even, you cannot know whether it's private or it's government land.
So in other words, you just say occupy it even though you don't know if it's privately owned. That's pretty much what I'm trying to get out of you. Occupy where you find.
Yeah, where it stays, unused land, occupy and use it, and for your own benefits. Because people are, you cannot stay outside and it's very much cold in Gauteng, So you don't have a shelter. If there is unused land where people can see and can occupy it and use it with your families.
All right. Themba Chauke, thank you very much for joining us here on the program. Themba Chauke is the Secretariat of the Landless Peoples Movement, talking to us about land invasions in Gauteng. And as you know, Gauteng bringing in a anti-land occupation program, saying that they won't tolerate any illegal occupation of land, private-owned land. But as you heard from Themba, encouraging members, if you see vacant land, occupy it until the government gets its ducks in a row. Sakina, quite interesting, isn't it? We were hoping to get Lebogang Maile, but unfortunately can't get hold of him, so we can't get any response.
It's very interesting, Leanne, because on both sides of the divide, you've got to look at the legalities at play. And again, saying that you're going to occupy land because you've been waiting, that doesn't quite make it right.
It doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't.
There needs to be more responsibility assumed on either side of this particular debate. Yes, government has to do more. They have to do better to make sure that people are actually sheltered. And it cannot be correct that while people have these dire needs for housing, you have development standing empty for 5 years. That doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense either.
So
you can understand, as you say, both sides of the story. You really can. Unfortunately, there's no justification for either side, though, and that's the big problem. But until we see something being done about the situation, the lawlessness will continue, and that's the unfortunate story.
Well, Leanne, this is where we have to say goodbye to our SABC2 viewers.